They are of that second state of the nation to be delivered this year. Mahlengi Bhengu-Motsiri is the national spokesperson of the African National Congress. Mahlengi, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Stephen.
What can we expect tonight? Or let me put it another way, will we find out when the elections are tonight?
Well, you know, I was saying this to somebody earlier, that I'm not in a position to be in the mind of the president, because as the ANC, we always make sure that there is no conflation of the party and state. But I do also note that there was some correspondence issued by the president yesterday suggesting that the president may, pronounce on election date on another date. So with that in mind, you can just understand that the ANC does give a broad policy framework as the governing party voted in by the people of South Africa on the basis of our manifesto, but we really don't prescribe to the president as to how he goes about discharging the responsibilities that he has.
I suspect if I were to ask him, he would say he's a loyal deployee of the ANC, but we'll come back to that. So are you expecting tonight, as the African National Congress, a State of the Nation address that's looking back, a review of the last 5 years since 2019, or are you looking at a State of the Nation that looks forward?
We are looking for both. It's important to speak to the people of South Africa about what South Africa looked like in 1993 or 1989 or 1994 before April 27, 1994. It is important to do so. Of course, we are a liberation movement. It's important that we remind our people about what South Africa looked like at that time, and then what South Africa looks like in 2024, notwithstanding a number of challenges, which we should always be the first people to talk about our challenges and what it is that we need to be doing to address those. And we hope the president will be able to do so in the address tonight.
So I understand the argument from the ANC, and it is a political argument. A lot of these things are political, about how life is much better for everyone since 1990. I think genuinely there's no argument with that. I don't see how you could argue with that. But since 2019, so you were last elected into office in 2019, sure. I think, not for almost, I think everybody really, life has got worse. Life has become more violent, become more dangerous. Potholes are infinitely worse. Life has become more expensive. Food has become more expensive. So given all of that, why should someone, if that's been the last 5 years of the ANC government, why should a voter vote for the ANC for another 5 years of the ANC government?
You know, many countries in the global north have struggled to recover from the COVID-19 experience. In the global north, wealthy countries, we've been very resilient as a nation, economically and politically, and in governance, just in terms of addressing the challenge of consistent institution building and democratic consolidation. I think when we discuss these issues, we lose sight of how much work it takes to do resilient institution building and democratic consolidation. That's the one aspect I want to speak to Stephen. The second aspect that I want to speak to, in the midst of the global economic crisis, this is not unique to South Africa for that matter, as we all know. Again, the global north, which is usually your benchmark. When I say your benchmark, not you as Stephen, but I'm talking about our colleagues in the global media space. Many countries in the north are struggling to survive the global economic crisis, some of which is structural, some of which has a lot to do with policy instruments that are currently being used. South Africa has been resilient. We're not getting the growth that we should be getting, but we have been resilient, particularly in the midst of the COVID-19 experience. So if you want to take me into a debate about the past 5 years, I think there's a lot of evidence to show that the ANC has steered the country under the leadership of President Ramaphosa in the right direction.
I don't know if people feel resilient. I think they feel tired. I think they feel hungry. I think they feel scared. And I think that's also because they've lost hope. So I hear you on governance and what's happened over the last 5 years because of the pandemic. But I think it's also the ANC's duty, particularly the ANC's duty because of our history, to offer a message of hope. And you offer a message of hope by doing something. And I wonder if the ANC's lost the ability to do something here and now to improve people's lives.
I think that's a fair question, a really fair question. We must work more and harder. The only challenge I do have is when there is a sense that we should not communicate successes. You know, during this crisis, the ANC-led government has unleashed a lot of comprehensive social protection for our people, particularly the poor and the vulnerable. That gets lost in translation. A number of research surveys internationally has put and pitched South Africa right at the top in terms of how this is a nation that looks after its people. Yes, we have our challenges. We need to fix roads and transport infrastructure. We need to sort out the logistics infrastructure. And generally, we need to fix our infrastructure delivery. I know, for example, one of our deployees there, Cyril is doing the most. So the expectation is that the president will cover those aspects in the address this evening. And we are also expecting some decisive statements from the president around those pressure points: infrastructure delivery, logistics, and fighting crime, lawlessness, and gender-based violence and femicide, and overall the economy. I would highlight those four as the big pressure points for the ANC as the governing party.
Mahlengi Bhengu-Motsiri, thank you very much indeed. National spokesperson of the African National Congress.